You look at the way they've been playing, Ralph. Last week you beat Chicago just because you're the Leafs and they're Chicago. It wasn't a great game. The same thing with Nashville. Like, with all due respect to those two teams, well, I guess very disrespectfully saying they are what they are. And the Leafs just found a way to get it done, and they moved on. Then you lose to the Capitals, and Washington just outplayed you. Pittsburgh might have been a coin flip, but you lose it. Last night, Stolar stands on his head. Now you got Anaheim, Detroit, Buffalo. Like, three teams that are in one right now. Three teams that you're going to be heavily favored against. What would you expect Berube's message to be based on what we've seen out of this team the last 4 or 5 games and the opportunity to rack up some points over the next few nights?
Yeah, I'd say there's got to be mild concern. And if you want to go back just a couple of games before that, Hazy, they lost in Florida, which you could say they were due. Then the game in Tampa, they give up 3 late third period goals and just hang on and get with empty netter to win there. And then all the other games, Chicago, Nashville, Washington, even the Pittsburgh game, they're all flip a coin games. We're talking about a bounce off a referee skate. We're talking about power play goals that determine it. So they've sort of been, I'd say there's a mild concern that they've been flirting with being a 500 team. And I think the concern is with the heavy schedule ahead, they've got to find it. They've got to get that traction back. And, hopefully last night you steal a game. It's a bit of a wake-up call to get back to some of the things you were doing, 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Well, and health is going to be a part of that too, right? Like, Jake McCabe has been day-to-day for weeks. That's been a theme with this team. And who knows when he returns and McMahon returns. He had Max back last night playing on the wing. I didn't notice him much. I think but he's got to get going. Like, Max hasn't scored a goal yet. Like, there's guys on the, like, we know what we expect out of the top four, or the core four, and certainly the top four defense and the goalies we've been raving about. But do you look at anyone on the level below that where you think, okay, that's a guy that can really spark, the depth of this team and make it feel like that's a conversation you can put to bed if and when that guy in particular starts playing better?
Well, I know we even said it, I think, after the second period last night. We said this is a game where somebody else has got to contribute. Bottom six or defenseman scores, and it comes from the unlikely source of Holmberg, shorthanded in the third. I think that's, when you start talking about bounces and special teams and everything else, those are such valuable goals to get from your bottom six. Whether it's killing a penalty or 5-on-5 to tie a game late. So, you hope that's there. But it is amazing that, the conversation has flipped from most years where we're talking about how great the power play's been and how is Matthews going to hit 70 goals. But they've been giving up too much defensively, or the goaltending has been a little bit shaky. So it's sort of interesting that the conversation is flipped 360 from what we've had over the last 5 years.
Yeah, it really has, and we'll see what comes of it tomorrow night. Leafs Ducks right here on TSN Radio. Joe Bowen, Jim Ralph with the call. Thank you, Ralphie. Enjoy it tomorrow night. We'll do it again down the road.
All right, thanks, boys.
There he is, Jim Ralph. Yeah, it's been an interesting season so far here in Toronto, and there's so much going on around the league as well. Thatcher Demko returned last night, got through the game, right? Got through the game.
That's a positive. That's almost all you're looking for there. Like, I don't know how comfortable he was going to be. He settled into the game as it went on, but even said afterwards, like, I felt rusty. Sure, he looked a little bit rusty. He hasn't played in like 8 months, and he's coming off an injury that no one's ever seen before in hockey. But, it was it just didn't look as comfortable, but got better as the game went on.
Yeah, I think there was you watch the broadcasters even talking about the way he was moving and getting up and that. Like, my biggest thing coming off of any type of injury, regardless if you're a player, and especially as a goaltender, if you can see the person think instead of react. And what I mean, the body language. Am I worried about pushing side to side if I've got a knee issue or a hip or groins, any type of stuff? Like, to me, there looked, again, I could be wrong, there looked a little bit of like he was gingerly moving sometimes. And now he's a tremendous skater and has got great lateral movement. I think there was just rust, and it might have got into his head. Hey, how am I going to feel when the lights are on and the adrenaline's rolling? I'd love can't wait to see him 10 games into this, where now he's back to normal. But I think they lost in OT.
They lost in OT.
Yeah, so it was a fourth. Yeah, so it was close. They got a point, but it's nice to see him back, and JT Miller and on the road there getting back. So I think they're on the road to recovery at the right
That's
path.
what you're hoping for.
Exactly.
That's what you're hoping. I mean, again, the concern with Demko is like with a player. If you miss camp and you miss a couple months, maybe you don't get it back this year. You'll see pockets of it. But they're banking on it returning, and if it does, it's a game changer for them because of how good he is. All right, we've got Tim Kurkjian coming up later in the afternoon on what the Jays have done this week, what they could continue to do, what else he sees happening in the AL East. There were trades today. There's been signings in baseball. We'll update you on that. News on Scotty Barnes as well. Role play level of concern coming up in about 40 minutes. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, role play level of concern coming up. And we were on the panel last night, and all of us have been in there. Studio 6 is the number of the studio, the name of the studio in which the magic happens. And it's such a cool place, and behind the scenes, they always have a ton of people coming through there and different tours. And right when you walk into the studio, and it's a massive studio, just on your right, there's a few different tables, and there's a litany of TVs up on the wall, right? I don't know how many there are, 6 or 8. It's usually a bunch of different channels and all the sports channels and all the different games, and sometimes there'll be like CP24 up there or CTV News. And we're getting prepared to interview Morgan Riley. We're getting prepared to do the Sports Center hit, trying to get in the zone. And I look over, and I just see Al's brother's face on like 3 of the TVs, because Overdrive was on yesterday. Frankie, you were in there, and obviously one of the TVs was on TSN 4, and there's Al's brother, and I know what he's doing. He's giving out his clue, and I'm like, this must be amazing for when they bring people through on tours, like especially big wigs or whatever, big investors. You're like, come through here. There's our TV wall where we watch everything, including Al's brother give out a clue with a blurred background. Like, how do you even explain what the hell's going on here at TSN?
That's talent. He is
pure
part
talent
of the talent pool at TSN.
He absolutely is. He is a superstar, and he's my partner. And we've sent Al's brother out somewhere in the city with a pair of Leaf tickets, and you have to guess where he's hiding for your chance to win them. Are you guys ready for the third clue of the week?
Yes.
Hey, Overdrive fans, it's Wednesday, and I've got another clue to get you one step closer to finding out where is Al's brother. Giving away Leafs tickets for December 21st against the New York Islanders, and here is your Wednesday clue. I'm standing next to an iconic Christmas tree said to be the tallest in North America.
Okay, come on, Al's brother. We know where you are now. Tune in tomorrow for another clue. Not that it's necessary. And the first caller through on Friday with the correct location will win a pair of tickets to see the Leafs take on the Islanders December 21st. Find Al's brother is brought to you by McAlpine Ford in Aurora. Our family, the Ford family, and you. Full details at tsn1050.ca. All right, hour 2 coming up. Scott Hartnell will join us. Role play level of concern. Bill Belichick, I believe, is employed again. I think he's coaching football again. We've got to touch on that. Scotty Barnes update, a LeBron James rumor and report. We'll touch on that, where Bronny comes into play. Hour 2 up next. Overdrive.
The Toronto Maple Leafs may be taking a new approach to salary management, which could directly impact Mitch Marner's contract negotiations. During Kyle Dubas' tenure as general manager, the team didn't hesitate to spend heavily, and this trend began with a 6-year extension signed by Marner in 2019. At the time, Marner's $10.9 million annual cap hit set the market for superstar wingers, surpassing comparable players like Mikko Rantanen of the Colorado Avalanche, who signed a 6-year deal with a $9.25 million annual cap hit. Now, however, times seem to be changing. TSN's Pierre Lebrun recently reported that the Maple Leafs have implemented an internal salary cap, aiming to ensure no player earns more than captain Austin Matthews, who signed a 4-year extension worth $13.25 million per season in August 2023. The team's primary concern revolves around Marner's agent, Darren Ferris, who, according to LeBrun, might push for a percentage of the total salary cap instead of a fixed dollar amount. This could result in Marner's cap hit exceeding Matthews' $13.25 million, conflicting with the Leafs' new financial strategy. Ferris is known for driving negotiations to the limit, often taking his clients to free agency. This raises fears that discussions between Marner and the Leafs could drag on until July 1st, giving Marner and his camp all the leverage in negotiations. Another complicating factor is the rising market. LeBrun noted that Mikko Rantanen believes he could secure $14 million per season as a free agent. This sparks the question, could Marner demand even more? And would Ferris take that gamble, knowing the Leafs might opt to move on and sign another player? Marner has made it clear on multiple occasions that Toronto is where he wants to be. As a local player with deep ties to the city, he's expressed his desire to spend his entire career wearing the blue and white of the Leafs. However, staying with the team may require him to accept less than market value, especially if the front office remains committed to its new salary structure. Such a sacrifice could be vital for the team's collective success and to avoid financial issues that have plagued the recent past. While negotiations are still in the early stages, it's evident that Marner's future with the Leafs is at stake. Maple Leafs fans may need to prepare for the possibility of significant changes, but they can also trust in the player's commitment to the city and the franchise to find a compromise. The Maple Leafs' decision to implement an internal salary cap reflects a broader shift in their team-building philosophy. After years of prioritizing top-end talent with hefty contracts, the organization appears determined to strike a balance between superstar contracts and depth throughout the roster. This strategy aims to avoid the pitfalls of past seasons, where a lack of financial flexibility often left the team vulnerable in critical playoff moments. For Mitch Marner, this shift creates a unique challenge. On one hand, his value to the Leafs is undeniable. A consistent top scorer and elite playmaker, Marner has been instrumental in driving the team's offense. On the other hand, his ability to command a salary that rivals or exceeds Auston Matthews could put the Leafs in a difficult position, especially with a potential need to strengthen other areas of the roster. As the 2023-24 season progresses, the Leafs must weigh the potential consequences of sticking to their cap philosophy. Losing a homegrown talent like Marner would undoubtedly sting for fans and the organization alike. However, allowing one player to dictate financial terms beyond the team's structure could hinder long-term success and force painful sacrifices elsewhere. Adding to the complexity is the looming free agency of William Nylander. If the Leafs are to stick to their internal salary cap, they may also face challenges in retaining Nylander, who could command a significant raise. Balancing contracts for both Marner and Nylander within the new framework could prove to be the ultimate test for Toronto's management team. Another factor at play is the team's ultimate goal, winning the Stanley Cup. While star players like Marner and Matthews are crucial, history has shown that depth and balanced rosters often prevail in the postseason. If the Leafs fail to manage their finances effectively, they risk falling short of building a championship-caliber team, even with elite talent. For Marner, the decision to stay with the Leafs might come down to more than just dollars. His connection to the city, the fans, and his teammates could be deciding factors. If he prioritizes legacy and loyalty over maximizing earnings, there's a strong possibility that he'll work with the team to find a deal that benefits both parties. Negotiations will also test Darren Ferris, known for his hardline tactics in securing lucrative deals for his clients. While pushing for top dollar is expected, Ferris may need to weigh the risks of alienating the Leafs management and fanbase. A prolonged stalemate could damage Marner's relationship with the team and its supporters. The Leafs management, led by general manager Brad Treliving, faces a pivotal moment. Treliving's reputation as a negotiator and team builder will be on full display as he navigates this high-stakes scenario. Striking the right balance could solidify his tenure in Toronto, while a misstep might set the team back for years. For Maple Leafs fans, the coming months will be filled with anticipation and uncertainty. Marner's future, along with the team's ability to stay competitive under financial constraints, will likely dominate conversations as the season unfolds. Supporters can only hope that the team's new approach leads to greater playoff success and, ultimately, the elusive championship. In the end, the outcome of these negotiations could redefine the Maple Leafs' identity for years to come. Whether it results in retaining Marner or reshaping the roster, the team's commitment to an internal salary cap signals a clear focus on long-term sustainability. Fans will be watching closely, hoping for a resolution that keeps the team's core intact and their championship dreams alive. As the negotiations with Mitch Marner progress, another layer of complexity is added by the external competition in the NHL market. Teams with more cap space and fewer restrictions could easily present lucrative offers to Marner if he reaches free agency. The Leafs are not only negotiating with Marner but also indirectly competing with other franchises willing to outbid them for his services. One example of this is Mikko Rantanen, whose potential $14 million value on the open market highlights the growing demand for elite wingers. If Rantanen secures such a deal, it could set a precedent that Marner's camp would use as leverage. The Leafs, however, must remain disciplined, as breaking their internal salary cap for Marner could lead to similar demands from other key players down the line. The looming specter of free agency means the Leafs have a limited window to strike a deal. If negotiations drag on into the off-season, the leverage shifts heavily in favor of Marner and his agent. Darren Ferris, known for his strategic patience, could use this to push for maximum value, putting even greater pressure on the Leafs management to make a decision. This scenario also places significant pressure on head coach Sheldon Keefe. Managing a team amid ongoing contract uncertainty can disrupt chemistry and focus. Keefe will need to ensure that the team remains united and focused on their performance, even as the media and fans speculate about Marner's future. Meanwhile, the Leafs core group, including Auston Matthews, Morgan Rielly, and John Tavares, will likely play a role in influencing Marner's decision. The camaraderie among the players and their collective drive for a championship could persuade Marner to accept a deal that aligns with the team's financial structure. On the flip side, the Leafs could explore contingency plans if a deal with Marner doesn't materialize. Trading Marner would be a bold move, but it could bring significant assets in return, potentially bolstering the team in areas like defense or secondary scoring. This option, while unpopular with fans, might be necessary to maintain roster balance. The timing of these decisions is also critical. With the trade deadline months away, the Leafs must assess whether keeping Marner without an extension risks losing him for nothing in free agency. A preemptive trade could avoid this scenario, but it would also signal a significant shift in the team's short-term goals. Fan sentiment will undoubtedly influence the team's approach. Marner is not just an exceptional player, he's a fan favorite and a symbol of homegrown talent succeeding in Toronto. Losing him could lead to backlash, especially if the team struggles in the aftermath of his departure. The broader NHL landscape also plays a role. As other teams navigate their own salary cap challenges, the Leafs can learn from their successes and failures. Organizations like the Tampa Bay Lightning and Vegas Golden Knights have shown the value of balancing star power with depth, offering a potential blueprint for Toronto's future.